Welcome to the flash launch of the SoFloPoJo May issue, May 2026. There was a very nice poetry launch. I think it was just about 2 weeks ago. And so I totally loved it. And SoFlo gets such great stuff. And we're very happy to present it. Okay, so my name is Francine Witte, by the way, and Michael Mackin O'Mara is our editor-in-chief, and he's running the Zoom and all that, so we really appreciate that. So I'd like to start off with, just to break the ice so that actually nobody has to go first, with a little flash, but this isn't mine. This is by a fellow named Matthew Purdy, and it was in I don't know if you can see this, Quick Fiction, which was a really great journal about 10 years ago. I don't mean it was a great journal 10 years ago. I mean, it ended 10 years ago. And they always had great stuff in there. And I submitted, and they never took anything by me. And oh, well, that's how it goes sometimes. Anyway, this is called The Mothers, and it's by Matthew Purdy. We reclined on the hill, watching the mothers drift by overhead. They were slow today. The sun squeezed their heads into matchstick silhouettes. When they peered down at us, shadows obscured their feathers. Still, every time a new one passed by, she let go of my hand. It's not yours, I told her. I know. She blinked at the hem of a giant bathrobe drew back from the sun. But you never know when yours will show up. Now the sun speckled through the tangle of a perm. This one wore glasses and too much perfume. I could smell it from here. Even if she does come by, you don't need to be ashamed, I said. I'm not, she said as she looked away, said it to the wind. You shouldn't worry about what she thinks. I don't. Still, she waited until the shadow of a high heel unsheathed itself from the hillside before taking my hand again. For now, the mothers were gone. We laid back, relieved. We drew closer as we watched the mothers shrink towards the horizon. The land beneath them was flooded with their shadows. And I apologize. That's what happens when I try to read in like 8 font. It's I'm too old for that. Okay, so that was just to get you started, to get us all started tonight. So our first reader is Alaina Hammond. She is a poet, playwright, fiction writer, and visual artist. Her poems, plays, short stories, nonfiction, paintings, drawings, and photographs have been published both online and in print. Her novelette, Jillian, formerly known as Frog Girl, it's a good title, was published by Bottle Cap Press. 4 of her flash fiction stories were nominated for the Pushcart Prize, all in 2025. Very nice. She's at Alaina, Alaina Heidelberger on Instagram. So if you want to put anything in the chat afterwards, like any kind of links or anything. And so I present Alaina Hammond. Take it away.
Thank you. The Living Melinda. Okay, yeah, so I've had a long day of teaching at this academic summer camp. It's not space camp, but it's closer to space camp than sports camp. Don't get me wrong, sports camp and space camp both serve their purpose. One isn't superior to the other. The world is not divided into smart, awkward nerds and dumb, cool jocks. Not for adults and certainly not for children. But there are 9-year-olds who will almost certainly have more fun at space camp and 9-year-olds who are better suited to enjoy sports camp. Therefore, both have good reason to exist. And in between these two camp extremes, but closer to the mold of space camp is creative writing camp, where I teach creative writing. I love it, but I'm both overtired and over caffeinated. It's exhausting in my brain and to be around me, I imagine. Anyway, about an hour after camp ends, I show up to tutor this kid for the first time. I've never met her and I've only spoken to her mom on the phone. When I get to their house, her mom and I discuss pragmatics for a few minutes. Then we get down to business, the business of guided reading, and everything's going well. The mom's name is Melinda, which is coincidentally the name of my dead best friend. I don't mention this because I have good social skills. No, really, I promise I do. At the end of the session in the bathroom, taking a well-earned pee break, I mumbled to myself, "I love you, Melinda," which is a relatively normal thing to say, given the circumstances. The circumstances being grief and also I'm tired and stressed. Okay, maybe not normal, but understandable, right? The thing is, I'm not sure I mumbled it quietly enough. I think there's a chance living Melinda might have heard me. Right. So, thank you for asking how my day was, and I'm sorry I answered your question in such detail. The point is, I'll have a decaf Americano. No cream and no sugar. I'm easy. Thank you. That's my only story I'm reading. Thank you.
Well, that was quite a story and quite a reading. I think everybody will agree. That was. Did your bio say that you're an actress too? You're not an actress.
Yes, I'm an actress.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not in your bio, so but
It's not in my bio, but wow, thank you.
I
Yes,
could
I'm an
tell.
actress.
I could tell. A very wonderful presentation, and I love I love the energy in the story when
Thank
I
you.
read it. But and this is what I love about the launch is that we get to hear the person read it, and it really adds just another wonderful dimension, as if the story weren't enough by itself, which it is, but that adds something and did not disappoint. So thank you, Alana Hammond.
Thank
And
you.
again, please feel free to put any links in the chat and where we can find more of you. Okay, wonderful. Next, we're going to hear from Lucinda Kempe. Lucinda Kempe's work is forthcoming in Gargoyle, Salvage, China Meeville Editor, the McNeese Review, SoFloPoJo, Unbroken Journal, Bull, Gooseberry Pie, New Flash Fiction Review, and Hot Flash, among other places. Her work appeared in the Wigleaf Long List Top 50, 2018, 2019, 2020, and has been nominated for Best Microfiction 2025. Her chapbook, Pretty Girl, is making the rounds. You can find her here, lucindakemp.substack.com. Lucinda Kempe.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
It's really nice. It's really nice to be here. And the chapbook is going to be published, so it's no longer making the rounds. Yay! My first one. I'm going to read two pieces. I'm going to read my SoFloPoJo and another one. Love Be Due. Her bees buzzed like a small black cloud around her naked skull. She loved her bees, but it was exhausting explaining the state of her hairs. So naturally, she was anxious about meeting a new friend, one she'd only met online. So when a tall giant without feet floated in her direction, her beehive hairdo droned in alarm. He was so lofty that when he leaned down to get a better look, the bees leaned too. "I'm bald," she said, whispering to her bees who moved off, exposing her shiny scalp. Her name could have been Honest. Better to be up front to save yourself from later disappointment, was her motto. "Oh, I can see myself," the giant said, hovering. "Your head is a planet, blue and green and bathed in cumulus clouds." "You are a flatterer," she said, privately pleased. "I tell it like I see it, and I have seen much because of my height." What happened to your feet? At her question, he shuddered to a thud. He had stumps where his feet should be. His head was covered in soft green lichen, and his arms were overlong branches. People reject me, he said, straightening to his complete height. She had to step back to get a full view of this giant, whose stumps reminded her of the Louisiana cypress trunks in the bayou where she'd grown up. The cypresses were resilient and water resistant. It's hard being diverse. You have lovely stumps. May I? She opened her palms, and the bees, thinking they were being summoned, came back. I'm sorry, we're attached, she said, shooing them off. He nodded and rose up gracefully despite his size. She traced her fingertips over the stumps that had short roots underneath that tickled her hands. Then she felt something which would have normally petrified her. His skeletal branches on her bee-less skull. A tenderness passed between them that neither of them had experienced before. Looking into each other's eyes, they recognized their neurodiversity and that their anomalies were in appearance only. They got married in the bayou, surrounded by dozens of other diverse folks like them. They drank sparkling apple juice and ate angel food cake and pumpkin tarts, leaving the leftovers for the swamp creatures. In time, she discovered she could live without hiding her baldness, and he discovered he could root himself to the earth without fear of rejection. They went on to have goblin children with hair of soft lichen and stumps instead of feet that never needed shoes to oppress them. The bees were delighted because they'd gotten into a habit of beehive hairdos that were grueling to maintain. And this is a shorty that's being published in by an MFA, brilliant MFA buddy of mine in a magazine. She's published up in where is it? Springfield, where up New York. Anyway, it's called Story of Apple. Once I was an apple in bee's eye. This was before I was a bud. I rode in the bee's brain as she buzzed around the tree thinking bee thoughts, mostly about the queen, who was a bully, who baited her minions, tortured them, in fact. Bee was working overtime to appease this oppressor. She was a yellow, humble bee, an anomaly, rare. The queen was jealous. Oh, wait, my childhood. Well, you must be patient and listen to the story. Once Bee did her bee thing, I blossomed on the tips of my mother's fingers, otherwise known as branches. Wait, you say this isn't possible. How could Bee pollinate me before I was a blossom? Well, maybe you don't like fairy tales, so shut up. Bee did her bee thing, and I damn well hung on my branch where I met Bee's friends and relations who were uproared about the queen, who had ballooned in ego, demanding more and more honey that was possible for a cluster of bees. Cluster, is that right? Like a murder of crows, a cluster of bees? This is not nonsense. Hang on. Anyway, I hung on until I fleshed up into a Honeycrisp apple. Most delicious. I happened to be the perfect specimen and was picked and packed for Whole Foods, where I sat on a counter with cousins, aunts, and uncles. We watched and waited for someone to pick us. Some were crones with weird childlike faces, but crone-like hands. We didn't want them. We wanted, I wanted to be bought by the most beautiful boy in the world, who'd bag me and take me home to feed me to the rescue donkey who'd been saved from slaughter. And I was. What a wonderful way to die.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I've got I'm a B-roll. I'm on a B-roll.
I can see that. I love the humor. It's great. Wonderful. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Lucinda.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes, and please put anything that you want us to know, any links in the chat, and we'll look for your chapbook. When is it due out?
It's due out we're shooting for August. It's called Pretty Girl.
Very nice.
And it's put out by Silver-Backed Punk Books, which is a new venue put out by Alan
Al Pratt's, yeah.
Al Pratt's. It's a new venue. It'll be his third book, and it's got illustrations by my daughter, and so it's a labor
Oh,
of love.
that should be wonderful. Wow. And I know Al pretty well. During COVID, we had a group that met on Zoom every Saturday night. We called ourselves the Flash Monsters, and Al was one of them, and Patricia Bedard, and April Bradley, and a few other people. It was really, and he just had his novel published, and I said, "Is that the novel you were reading to us?" So I heard it in its infancy. So he's a really good guy. So
Yeah, and he self-published
congratulations.
this one. Oh, can you see it? Wait a minute.
Bring it back a little bit. Yeah, you must be blurred or something.
Bold as Love. And he's got one published too coming out.
Yeah. Well, thank you for reading for us. Listen to Kempe. I just want to give a little shout out to some of the people here who were nice enough to give up their Friday nights to be with us. Christina Vinson, Claudia Monpere, Stacy Kiner, Joshua Miranda, Jennifer McKee, Marissa Deschamps, and Brendan Wolf. And also thank you again to Michael for all the technical stuff, and also he's so patient with me. I'm always saying, Michael, can I have another, can I have the updated list? Can I do this? Can I, a couple of months ago, maybe it was for this issue that the deadline just got away from me for some reason. And he was so patient about it. So I really appreciate everything that you do, Michael. So I wanted to welcome everybody because, I think it's important. Okay, so continue. Our next reader is Marijean Oldham. Marijean Oldham is a public relations consultant and writer. In 2003, Marijean set a Guinness Book World Record for creating the largest bouquet of flowers. I just love that. I was like looking at the bios before. I went, oh my God, that is the best. That's the best line in a bio I think I've ever read. We're not writing. Marijean is a pie enthusiast, as if the bouquets weren't enough, the pies, and competitive baker. Her most recent pie, a slow roasted strawberry, might be her favorite. Find her work at marijeanoldham.com. Marijean Oldham.
Thank you, Francine. Thanks, everybody, for being here. The first piece I'm going to read is my SoFlo piece, Breeding Season. Thump. I startle, the mascara in my hand bumping a black streak on my cheek. Goose on the roof. I wait for a second thump, the flaps, the honks, but there's only one. Claude. I run a washcloth under the tap and start over with the eye makeup, making an effort for the coffee date at 10. He's an attorney, silver-haired, grown kids, a nice smile. At my vanity, I hear Claude shift on the roof before he launches, lifting his bowling pin body with heavy wings, flap, flap, flapping toward the pond. I watch him through the window and say, welcome home. It was last summer when I found the feathered nest empty, cracked shells scattered across the riprap. That was after the phone call, the hospital, and the funeral of the winter before, after the last of the casseroles. Through it all, I'd been strong. When I saw that something had gotten Claudette, fox, coyote, or hawk, I collapsed on the berm near the tall grasses that obscured the empty nest next to the pond. I was bereft as Claude walked and flapped, his vigil kept despite his loss. I stayed until the dampness of the earth soaked my jeans, my shirt wet with tears. I saw him the day he left. I saw him most days, honking back at him on my daily walks by the pond, the sound of our shared despair. He was there one day, gone the next. Deep into autumn, frost on the window as I sat brushing my hair. It's spring and he's returned alone. I use the eyelash curler, apply the wand, feathering lashes up like I'm wide-eyed in wonder, like I'm younger. I thought Claude would have a new partner, but there he is circling ever wider on his own. Thump goes my heart as I leave for my date, checking my reflection before I pass through the door. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Since we have a little more time, I have a very short one. This piece is forthcoming in Cleaver. My mother is the last cigarette in the pack, accidentally lit the wrong way round, the burnt filter acrid in the morning air. I wait for her on doorstep, on the playground. After ballet, I watch the clock tick. Madame keeps an eye on me as the sun sinks in the sky. At home, I open cans. I imagine that Chef Boyardee is my father, that he comes home and makes ravioli from scratch in the evenings, that I help by chopping the onion, the tomatoes. He has an overblown Italian accent, even though he's American through and through. He makes me laugh as his mustache tickles my ear when he hugs me goodnight. My memory of my real father is a smear of dark hair and the smell of cinnamon gum. My mother cries behind her bedroom door while I eat in front of the television. My mother is a prayer after the school shooting in another city, kneeling, hand clasped in the front of the church. She is full of faith as I suffer the heartbreak of bad boyfriends and worse friends. I adopt the school counselor, Mrs. Morse, like the code. Second semester, junior year, arriving in her office every study hall to ask the questions I imagine the other kids' parents answer. With patience, she finagles scholarships, manages applications, steers me toward a place I'll be accepted. I imagine she invites me to visit over Thanksgiving break, that she'll make turkey and pumpkin pie, that I'll sit at the table with the husband and two young children I see in the photo on her desk. After, I'll help with the dishes. My mother is the milk jug forgotten while unloading groceries, spoiling in the car in the summer sun, the residual smell lingering months later. I lug the baby back and forth, the toddler still buckled while bag handles cut into my palms, until I can deposit her in her seat, usher her brother inside, planting them both in front of Ms. Rachel, the internet-based nanny. I imagine that Ms. Rachel is their mother. How much better off they'd be with her endless cheer, her boundless energy. Perhaps if I wore headbands. I put away the cans, the vegetables, and the frozen meals while they're enthralled, the baby chirping along with the video. It's near dinner time when I realize about the milk and I crumple, realizing how hard it is to do all alone. How we're not meant to, how ill-equipped my mother was, how she did the best she could. Thank you.
Love those. I love both of those. Like such precision with your language, really beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
like there's like a nice whimsical feel as with all the pieces tonight, it's like sort of something like running through a thread, like whimsy, you know. So thank you for reading for us, Marijean Oldham. And has that piece come out in Cleaver yet? Or?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. We'll look forward to reading it. And by the way, I'm just curious, what kind of flowers were in the bouquet?
Everything. A lot of carnations.
Like, how big was it?
37,801 stems.
And did you have to bring it somewhere, or you did it put it together?
No. It was all assembled at a botanical garden.
Wow. I'm sorry, I'm just geeking out over this because it's just amazing. Love it.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations on that. Well, thank you for being here with us, Marijean Oldham. Okay, next we're going to hear from Swetha Amit. Swetha is an MFA graduate from the University of San Francisco. She has authored a memoir and 3 chapbooks. Her work appears in Bending Genres, Ghost Parachute, Gone Lawn, and elsewhere. A member of the Writers' Grotto, she has had her stories nominated for the Pushcart Prize, Best of the Net, Best Small Fiction, and Best Microfiction. Her writing has been supported by Tin House, the Kenyon Review Writers Workshop, the Community of Writers, Vana Voices, and the Writers' Grotto. Swetha Amit.
Thank you, Francine. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And it was lovely to hear all your works. Tonight, I'll be reading a piece that was published in SoFlo in the May issue. So thank you, Michael and Francine, for including my story. It's called Revisiting the Marsh. Where the cement road ended, the marsh trail began. We slipped into the world of tall grasses, the dirt trail, insects buzzing, calling birds, and the gentle shimmer of blue water under the dazzling sky. I took a few steps ahead, then slowed down so Ma could catch up. Still the same old trail, Ma exclaimed, carries the same pungent, rotten egg odor of thick black mud and a salt smell. I smiled. I don't know why, but you always loved that smell. Everyone else says it stings. Ma threw her scarf-covered head back and laughed. Her once long, wavy brown hair had fallen out in patches due to radiation. How time flies, she said, her eyes growing moist. Over the years, Ma and I went through our ups and downs. Pa moved out and started living with a much younger woman who worked at a cafe in New York. Ma went through a phase where she drank vodka straight from the bottle, cried endlessly, and was later admitted to a care facility. My aunt looked after me until Ma returned. I graduated, found a job, got married, had a 12-year-old son. Then came Ma's diagnosis and chemotherapy. This was her first hike after she recovered. We walked side by side, gravel crunching under our feet, before we halted at the bridge. Reeds swayed in the breeze. From a distance, a heron spread its wings. For months, I longed for this moment. During hospital visits, when machines beeped softly in the dark, I would picture the marsh trail with sunlight beaming on the water, the long path through the grass, and the sound of birds. Ma rested her arm against the wooden railing of the bridge. Remember when you were little? She asked. You tried to swim after the ducks. I groaned. You mean when I fell and got myself dirty in the muddy water? You didn't fall, Ma grinned. You waded. I leaned against the railing next to her. The marsh extended endlessly. The ruddy ducks floated in slow circles. You said they looked lonely, Ma sighed. The wind pushed through the reeds, making a whispering sound. I noticed how Ma's hair was still growing back in soft, silvery brown tufts, though the color was back in her cheeks. Was it scary to watch me? I asked suddenly. Ma looked at the water for a long time before answering. Yes, she said simply, sometimes. I was scared too, I admitted. Ma turned to me. I know. How? Because you kept bringing those terrible hospital puzzles, she said, the ones with missing pieces. I laughed. There weren't any missing pieces, Ma. You just refused to finish them. There were too many fish and too many shades of blue, Ma said firmly. We started walking again. The trail wound deeper into the marsh, where dense cattails grew and the air carried a mossy green scent. Sunlight peeked through the clouds in patches, reflecting off the water like scattered mirrors. It had been a while since we walked anywhere together like this. Before the diagnosis, before life had shrunk into appointments and waiting rooms. Ma paused again and pointed. Look, she exclaimed. The heron flew and stood near the water's edge. The family of ducks gathered near us. Still lively and sunbathing, I observed. They were always here, Ma said, even when we weren't. The marsh continued quietly through all those difficult months. The birds were still flying and swimming. The tide was still rising and falling. I used to worry I wouldn't see this again, Ma said. I swallowed a lump. But you are now. Ma squeezed my hand, her grip gentle yet surprisingly firm. We reached the end of the bridge, where the trail opened into the marsh's widest area. The water rippled in the breeze. I felt a weight lift from my chest. A duckling wandered away from the group. The mother duck quacked loudly, swam over to it, bringing it back to others. I asked Ma, "Want to come back next week?" Ma gazed at the water, smiling. "Oh," she said, "I plan to come back a lot." We stood there, watching how the marsh, the sky, the ducks, and the heron all blended together, inhaling the scent of mud and salt. Except it did not stink anymore. Thank you.
Oh, wow, that was beautiful. Swetha, that was poignant, and very touching. And there were there's such a great sense of place the way you gave us all those details. And I liked some of the things that kind of like matched up, like the mother's hair missing and then the jigsaw puzzle pieces, missing a piece. Like it just felt like that it was like a good sort of callback to that. Beautiful. This is a beautiful story. And I love the ending there. Doesn't stink anymore. Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for reading that for us tonight. And always nice to see you, Swetha. Swetha, Amit. All right. Our final reader is, and I'm going to say this wrong, so you need to correct me, Vaishnavi Pusapati.
That's correct. You got it on the first try.
I did. Oh, amazing. Okay, I have to say it again. So Vaishnavi Pusapati is a physician writer who is the winner of the Beyond Words Microfiction Prize and the Grantchester Prize from Orchard's Poetry Journal. She was longlisted and shortlisted for the Welkin Prize. I think that's Matt Kendrick's
Yes,
prize.
yes.
He's a nice fellow too. Her work is forthcoming in the IHREF Hannah Arendt anthology, has previously appeared in over 120 journals such as Dreisch, Quill Keepers, Pearl, Palisades Review, Roanoke Review, Meniscus, etc. She is a reviewer for the Consilience Journal. Her poetry book, Afterlife, Haikus, is forthcoming from Hawakal Publishers. Vaishnavi Pusapati. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. It was such a pleasure to read all your stories, and the way you read it, it made it come alive. So it's such a pleasure to be here. And thank you, SoFlo, for publishing my piece. I'm going to read it. The title is The Woman Who Keeps the Weather. My mother keeps the weather in jars. She started doing it the year my father left. At first, I thought the jars held ordinary things: peaches in syrup, pickled beans, rainwater from the gutter. But one night, A thunderclap shook the kitchen shelf, and I saw the jars trembling as if something inside them wanted out. What's in there? I asked. Tuesday's storm, she said, tightening a lid. The glass glowed faintly blue. After that, I watched carefully. Each morning, my mother stepped outside with empty jars tucked in the pocket of her apron. She stood in the yard listening, the way people listen for distant trains. When the wind shifted, she moved quickly. She caught fog in a mason jar once, screwing the lid down before the mist could slip away. Another time, she trapped a summer afternoon, cicadas humming softly inside the glass, the air warm and thick like honey. She labeled everything: April drizzle, wind that smells like pine, the storm that broke the heat. The kitchen shelves filled slowly. Weather stacked beside weather until the room felt crowded with quiet skies. Sometimes she opened a jar. On the day my grandmother died, my mother uncorked a small bottle labeled October Sun. Warm light spilled across the kitchen floor, touching our feet like something alive. Another evening, she opened soft snowfall, and flakes drifted gently around the table while we ate our soup. Why keep all of it? I asked. In case we need it, she said. For what? For the right day. The right day did not come for a long time. Years passed. Dust gathered on the lids. The labels faded. Some jars held nothing I could use, but when I touched the glass, I felt tiny changes: coolness, pressure, the suggestion of distant thunder. My mother rarely opened them anymore. She only dusted the shelves and tightened the lids as if afraid something might leak. Then one night the phone rang. My father's name traveled through the receiver like a doleful ghost we had forgotten to bury. He was sick, the woman said, very sick. My mother did not answer immediately. She stood in the kitchen with the phone pressed against her ear, looking at the shelves. After she hung up, she reached for a jar near the back. The label read, First Rain After Drought. I remembered that day. The whole village had run outside laughing while the dust turned to dark soil beneath our feet. My mother held the jar up to the light. We kept that one a long time, she said. Yes, she said quietly. For what? She turned the lid slowly. The room filled with the smell of wet earth. Rain spilled out, not heavy rain, but the gentle kind that arrives when something tired finally decides to rest. It fell across the table, the stove, the warm linoleum floor. For a moment, my mother closed her eyes. The rain touched her face the way memory sometimes does: soft, unexpected, impossible to keep. Then she placed the empty jar back on the shelf. Outside, the night remained perfectly clear. No clouds, no storm. Only the faint sound of rain fading somewhere inside the house. Thank you.
Wow, that was beautiful. It was so imaginative. Someone wrote that in the chat. It was so imaginative, and it had that perfect balance of, well, this is kind of surreal, but it's very realistic.
Thank you.
Which is it's always a hard act to pull off, but necessary, and you did that beautifully, and also great imagery, beautiful imagery, and also very poignant. So thank you for being here with us, Vaishnavi. And I think that brings us to the close of a very, very nice reading. I enjoyed hearing all of you. I mean, I love the stories, obviously, but I loved hearing them in your voices, in your wonderful, beautiful voices. So thank you for being here with us. Swetha, Amit, Lucinda Kempe, Vaishnavi Pusapati, Marijean Oldham, and Alaina Hammond. And once again, thank you, Michael, for your technical expertise and for everything you do for SoFloPoJo. And thank you all for being here and listening. We'll see you next time. Won't be for another couple of months because we do this just every quarterly. We do the FLAUNCH, the flash launch, once every 3 months when the new issue comes out. Keep submitting. Okay, love your work. Everybody keep submitting. And thank you, everybody. I'm Francine Witte from New York City. And for SoFloPoJo, drive safely.